Facebook Live and Instagram Live, so thank y'all for joining if you were here. I first wanted to remind Forge members that if you refer a friend, you get $50 off of your next invoice. And we would love for y'all to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. It's really a way that we can let y'all know what's going on. So in order to have the most, to make the most use of our space, it's good to know what's going on, and we use all those ways to share what's going on. So we have a lot of stuff going on in February, which is really exciting. Next week, February 7th, we have Paul Martin coming to share how to grow your business with video. So he's very talented, very good. So we're excited about that. And then next Thursday, the 8th, we have a chocolate and wine tasting. It's from 4 to 5. It's a happy hour. It's open for anybody. So we would love for y'all to come. It's Kayla Northrup who does Natch Chocolates, and she just started the Co-Starters program. So her chocolate is really, really good. And then the 16th, we have a free Friday. So definitely tell your friends, let them all come. And then the 28th, Josh is going to be back, and he's going to tell us what the next lunch and learn topic will be for him. But I am going to bring Josh up. I first met Josh when I was going through the Co-Starters program.
Okay.
And was just really impressed with what they're doing at Gray Jenkins, their desire and mission to really serve small businesses and provide legal needs in a way that is attainable for small businesses and not overwhelming. So thank you for being here today. We're excited to have you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, like she said, my name is Josh Andrews, and I work with entrepreneurs and small businesses every day. I'm a business lawyer. I help small business owners and entrepreneurs develop a clear legal plan to protect their business as it grows. And we use an education-first approach to legal advice and service. Our goal is to serve the small business community, and I do that as managing partner of Gray Jenkins, where I focus on working with small businesses. I also run Legal to English, which is a website and a podcast that will hopefully be revived in 2018, though there is plenty of content that's out there focused on helping entrepreneurs understand the legal that impacts their business every day. You can find me in a few places. We're here every once in a while. We're down the street, not terribly far away, and we do frequent the food hall. So, I always love talking to business owners and entrepreneurs. Our goal is to help you develop a clear path to your legal protection. Because growing your business can only happen if you have a firm foundation. And I believe that every entrepreneur should have access to quality information about the legal that impacts their business every day. Because every business is going to need legal. Not every business is ready for a lawyer, and that's why I'm here today. It's why I created Legal to English. It's why we come and we do these lunch and learns. It's why we've developed our relationship with Forge. It's what we like to do, is making sure that entrepreneurs and business owners understand what they need to protect their business, where you are right now, and what it's going to take your business to the next level. So if you want to know more about how to build a business while laying your legal foundation, more than what we're able to talk about today, come back the 28th and we'll keep talking. Or you can check us out here or reach out to us and let's just chat. But our goal is to give you clear guidance and steps on how to use legal to protect your business in an independence world. Now, most lawyers are going to come and they're going to stand up and they're going to talk and they're going to tell you about all the scary, horrible, awful things. In fact, that's actually what they tell me to do. Tell me if I'm like standing in front of, because I'm a pacer. And that's actually what they tell me to do with Co-Starters, is to show up, to terrify them into doing stuff. And my experience over the 10 years of doing this is, if we scare you too much, you actually don't take any action. And so our goal is to help you understand that it is important, but it's not scary. It's something that you can do. Most people are only afraid of legal because it's a vast unknown. The reality is that legal impacts your business. The question is, who's in control of the legal that impacts your business? And let's be honest, if you want to know about the legal issues that face your business, it's like drinking from a fire hose. We've got our 3 law clerks here. They take BizOrg and all kinds of other classes, and they're just completely inundated, and they come to us and they go, what really matters, right? I've been doing this for 10 years. There's so much information about this. And so we could just throw information at you hoping you just find it all too complicated and you pay us for help, but that's not our goal here. And so when we talked to Kim and we told Kim what we wanted to do here, it was to kind of lay these foundations for you guys to help you understand what's going on. Because everything that happens in your business is impacted by legal. That's the beauty of our country that we live in. The laws, the legal impacts everything that you do. We're in relationships. Those are contracts. Whether you put them in writing or you shake somebody's hand or you send an email that says, I agree, let's do it, you've created a contract. What does that mean? Legal can be complicated, but so is running a business, and you can do that, right? And all of your legal issues don't happen at the same time. You just have to understand how to build that legal foundation, just like you're building everything else in your business. So just like learning how to grow your business with video on Facebook, understanding how to use Instagram and Facebook and all of those other things, legal is an essential part of building your business and making sure it works. And you can improve how you're doing it over time as you learn more about it. But if you want to protect your business, you have to take control. Otherwise, somebody else is in control. It could be the legislators, right? It could be the IRS. It could be the bigger people who are telling you how they want the deal to run, right? But if you take the time to understand and implement legal strategies and protections as you're building your business, you're going to be one step further toward building a business that's sustainable and won't crumble at the first sign of trouble. You will have a business that's built on a firm foundation. But it can be difficult to know where to begin, and that's a lot of what we want to talk about today. So whenever I first meet with entrepreneurs, with business owners, or I talk to somebody who's about to start one, I encourage them to start by knowing what the legal issues are in their business. And the good news is that it doesn't necessarily take a lawyer to help you find the map you need to help you understand the legal facing your business, but it doesn't hurt to have one give you a little bit of guidance. So to understand all of the legal issues that might come up in your business, it takes a little bit more time than we have here, and so I'm going to share a couple of the things that I've done on the podcast where you can find more information on what we have. Some of these are old, like I said, we're hoping to rebuild and do some more things, but the content itself is still there. So number one, we got episode 1, which was the first episode I ever did on my podcast, which is what in the world is limited liability and why does it matter to your business, right? You know, so many people are like, it's just me, I'm just going to get started, I'll be a sole proprietor, right? I have no need for an LLC, why does it matter? And so this episode talks about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Episode 38 is about how legal fits in your business. We've even got an exercise to help you find out. We're going to take a truncated version of that today, but episode 38 kind of walks through it, and there's a download with the actual sheet that we built on that. And then episode 49 is how legal should impact your business systems, and this is a lot of the driving force of what we do in our education as lawyers, is to help you understand that it's important to build systems, it's important to build processes, because if you don't build your business like a business, then the legal doesn't necessarily help you, because if it's not repeatable, then the legal terms that we put in place and you're not doing the same thing, then you may have broken your legal to begin with. And so episode 49 talks a little bit about that.
So what's your podcast again?
It's called Legal to English. You can find it at legaltoenglish.org, O-R-G, and I believe the .com just became back available recently, but I have to go back and check that. But yeah, it's legaltoenglish.org. You should be able to find it, and hopefully we're going to get it linked through the website in the very near future. But as we get started, before we get to the 4 business essentials, I want to talk a little bit about 4 entrepreneur myths that we have a tendency to deal with. So our entrepreneur myths are, number 1, legal can wait, right? It really can. So we're not, it can't. I mean, I'm of course paid to say that, but legal's going to impact your business no matter what kind of decisions that you make, because if you wait, now I can't use this example, I've been practicing law too long, but I can't use this example as much as I used to, but most of us will remember a day and a time when healthcare had pre-existing condition issues, right? And so it's a lot like that. Legal is very similar to that situation. If you have a pre-existing condition, when you fix it, we can't make that go away. We're not magicians. And so legal can't really wait, and the issue is that your legal issues start to crop up when you're successful. But the creative lawyers who are trying to figure out how to deal with your legal issues are looking to when you weren't successful and probably weren't doing everything right. And so legal can't really wait. Number 2 is legal doesn't really affect my small business. It really does. In a lot of ways, more so than other people, because people think they can run over you. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how using legal properly can make you even look bigger than you may necessarily be because people see that you have your legal ducks in a row. Number 3, I know a lawyer. That doesn't really matter. We're not all created equal. And the legal advice you get at a cocktail party isn't always the legal advice you get in somebody's office. Number 4, I'll just get a template online. I'll just leave that one. Things entrepreneurs say. I've been practicing law going on 10 years now, so I've heard some very interesting things from entrepreneurs. I'll just get started with my business and then I'm going to talk to a lawyer when I'm ready to get serious. So the decision to go out on your own, even if you're just working on a side hustle, is a serious one. And there's actually legal consequences to any attempt you are going to make money in a business, right? You never know what's going to come. You never know if you're going to become an overnight success. You need to make sure and protect yourself from things that happen before you took those proper steps to protect yourself. Who's seen The Social Network? That movie's far enough out that everybody may have forgotten. Movie about Facebook, anybody?
So good.
Justin Timberlake's attempt to jump in, right? It's Aaron Sorkin. Okay, so The Social Network is an entire movie about the development of Facebook. The entire movie is based around the fact that these two guys who came to Mark Zuckerberg with an idea claimed that they had some level of ownership over Facebook. And Mark Zuckerberg stroked him a massive check to fix the problem. All of which could have been fixed by legal at the beginning. Now, he was a 17-year-old kid. He became a multi-billionaire. Maybe our next president, from what I hear. But, and who knows? And, but you never know what's going to happen as an overnight success. And so not making those decisions can have legitimate issues down the road. Okay, so the next thing that entrepreneurs say, I'm just a small business. Legal is expensive and it's not really going to affect me. Legal can be expensive to have it done right, but it's even more expensive if you don't, right? It's really expensive to have a complicated legal transaction handled for you, but the payoff is there. The reason that it's expensive is because it creates a level of protection for you in a way that you don't have otherwise. Sometimes you don't necessarily see the payoff, and that's the danger, right? That's what's scary. That's what we come in, we talk about. Is sometimes we lawyers, we do something and you pay money and you look at it and you're like, well, what's the benefit of this, right? How does this even help me? And, I believe in what we do. I'm not just up here because I went to law school and, I can charge money to do a thing. It matters for your business. We do it in our business. We take care of our clients. We take care of ourselves. We look at the way to keep our business running. I tell clients all the time that the best thing that you can do if you really believe in your business idea is to stay in business. And the best way to stay in the business is to protect your business, right? And that's where legal comes in. Because if you go out of business, then the people that you are helping, because you didn't do something right, you got sued, some issue happened, and you go out of business, then you're not helping anybody anymore and your business idea doesn't go anywhere. Properly used, legal is like taking vitamins. The effects take a while to show up and they aren't good if you're inconsistent with how you approach it. The good news is our legal system is actually designed for lay people. You'd never know it, but at least it used to be. The issue is if you spend a little bit of time learning about the legal that impacts your business and what matters for you, you can be consistent with your legal and find that you're miles ahead of everyone else who's running a small business, and you will reap the benefits of having that business that's on the right foundation. And one of the hurdles I often have to overcome when speaking with small business owners is that they've been burned before by a lawyer. Because you pay too much for something you think works, but then you don't pay extra because you don't want to make a phone call, you don't understand how the documents work, you don't understand what's going on. And that's just wrong. That's just something our industry has done wrong to you guys, is that we don't make sure you understand what we give you. We say, just take this, it works for you, right? And that we think for some reason that we know more about your business than you do. And so when we approach drafting contracts and structuring deals and doing things for you guys, we always say that we can't draft your contracts in a vacuum, right? You can tell us everything and we can put together the legal that makes sense, but until you understand it and you've asked all of the questions that you think may come up because you've been in those sales meetings and you've convinced people, to buy your consulting services or whatever, you know more than we do when it comes to that, right? And it takes us working together to make it work for you. because we're not just pulling a template off the internet. We're making something that makes sense for you. And that is what we're building here. We're building an education-first approach to practicing law, to taking care of you. And we want to help you learn how to leverage legal to protect your business. All right, so the next one, and this is one of my favorites. My cousin is a lawyer. I'll just ask him when I need something. Please make sure that your cousin is a business lawyer, not a divorce lawyer or a criminal lawyer. Okay, I actually, outsourcedassociate.com is actually, that it links to the podcast too, but there's a free legal advice. There's actually a podcast episode. It doesn't look like that whole thing carried all the way through, where I actually talk about how free legal advice, you get what you pay for in your free legal advice. So sometimes, I mean, and I do it too. You know, people call, you know, your uncle's, you know, long lost cousins, brothers, sisters, you know, called and asked this question, and maybe it is actually a business question, but outside of all of the facts and dealing with it, you know, you're not going to get a for real answer. And so there's something legitimate about actually understanding, making sure that the lawyer fully understands it, because legal advice comes from applying your circumstances and situation to the law and understanding how all of that plays. And so unless we understand everything, you can ask a question a certain way, and if the lawyer doesn't ask a bunch of follow-up questions and just gives a stock answer, the stock answer may not necessarily apply to you, right? So it's important, and be careful. So I actually, like I said, I wrote this blog post a while back. If you actually go to Legal to English and type in free legal in the search bar, it'll pop up. But the issue is, if you don't know what to ask, how will you know when to ask it, right? Because the problem is, once you're aware of a legal problem in your business, it's often too late. So what entrepreneurs need is this preemptive, preventative legal, right? Legal that's designed to keep you from having problems. Legal designed to help you when something goes wrong. What you need is to take control of your legal so nobody else is in control. All right, the next one is, I could just save time and money by using a template from one of those sites online. Technically, you can save time and money. The problem is, are you getting what you need? Do we have any software developers in here? Anybody? No? Okay. So garbage in, garbage out is a common software term, right? If you put bad code in, you get bad code out. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to. These legal sites work the same thing. Not that your understanding of your business is garbage necessarily, but if you don't answer their questions right, then the mediocre template that they spit out on the back end is going to be is not even going to be correct, and it may not protect you. One of the first deals that I worked on as a young lawyer was with someone who had taken investment in their company. They'd used LegalZoom. They'd taken about $50,000 of investment, and somehow, through LegalZoom, they had managed to put their house, their personal house, to actually sign a deed, sign their house into the ownership of their company that they then sold 30% of. Oops, thank you, LegalZoom. So now so we untangled it, we fixed it. But for simple things like forming an LLC, most early stage businesses, solopreneurs, you'd be better off using a free form off the Secretary of State website. In any state, they have a free form. They're required to do it. And it would be easier for you to fill it out, to just go in and fill it out and answer the questions the best you can, because it's free. And you know what? That's what LegalZoom does for you. They fill that out because they created a big fancy website that you put in the information, and it takes your information and puts it into the fillable PDF. You could cut out a step and save $400. The reason is, much like in software though, like I was saying, if the input's bad, the output, no matter the quality of the templates, will be equally bad. And if you don't understand how they work or how to properly answer the questions, then the resulting agreement that you sign could actually do you more harm than good, because it may not say what you think it does. And so the issue is, you have to understand fully what you're getting and what you're signing and what you're doing. Okay, so this is a bonus one. Oh, except I skipped it. Yeah, I have more things to do. I don't have time to think about legal. We're all business owners, right? We've got stuff to do. We've got marketing to think about. We've got to actually take care of our clients and our customers and all of these things. And it seems like sales are going to be your most important, right? We've got to get more customers in. We've got to get more people in. We've got to do these things. But legal shouldn't be thought of as something else to do. Legal's a part of what you're doing, right? Whether you're using a lawyer or you're just figuring out how to do it, legal is a part of it. If you're selling consulting services without a consulting contract, you're going to run into trouble, right? Someone's going to question what you did and say, you didn't do everything you told me you were going to do, I'm not paying you, right? Or they're just not going to pay you, and you're kind of up a creek, right? And so then you've got a customer service problem because you have no contract to point to, or you've got a collections problem because you've got no contract to point to. And so it becomes he said, she said, and everything. It's the reason the big companies actually have lawyers in their C-level positions, because they know that legal impacts every decision that's made in the business. And so the important thing to understand as we continue through this is to understand that legal has to be on the forefront of your mind as you think through these things. And you need to understand how it impacts your business. So, now to actually get to our legal essentials, the things that we're going to talk about. These are the things, when you're getting started, that you need to look at. These legal essentials of your business. This is actually, the rest of this is the co-starters talk that has a tendency to pop up. So number one, a legal entity. Just like I was saying, if you're just like, I'm going to be a solopreneur and I'm going to, be a sole proprietor, none of that matters. How am I going to fix it? Limited liability is an absolutely essential thing. It protects you in so many different ways. You can say, well, I'm just a consultant, so I'm talking to people, so the limited liability shield doesn't protect me at all because, because it's all me, it's what I say and all of those things. Well, that's not completely true. That's not exactly the way that works. That's not all of what the limited liability does for you, right? And so the issue in creating this limited liability is that you need to make sure that you've limited the liability of your business, of yourself as the owner, right? You protect yourself as the owner, so this becomes an investment, right? So when you join Forge as a limited liability company and you owe them all that money every single month and you run out of it and they come chasing after you all nasty, right? You're like, well, my company bankrupted, I'm done, and walk away, right? See, I just saved you all kinds of stuff. Sorry, Kim.
You're fired.
If you don't get fired, you're not doing it right. Right? Okay. So the point is that you're signing contracts, you're incurring obligations, you're paying for things, and if this thing doesn't go, if it doesn't take off, then you may have to walk away, and without that protection, that limited liability protection that exists from the entity, then you can't really walk away from it. You have to pay all these people out, right? Like, they're coming after you. But if the entity itself comes up and then it fails and you walk away, you have a level of protection, right? An example that has been in the media of late is we have an incredibly wealthy president who has bankrupted a number of companies and yet continues to increase his balance sheet. And the reason is because of his liability protection. You can disagree with any of his rationales or points or anything like that, and this is by no means any statement of politics whatsoever, but the reality is as a business person, he created things and he was able to get out of the liability of things that he may have owed. And you can make any argument, whatever that you wanted to, but legally, he protected his liability. And that's how the wealthy stay wealthy, is that they limit their liability in each of their investments, because it is that. And so as small business owners, and I'm one, I've been doing this for 10 years. I started my firm, we've built this thing, and we're where we are, and it's blood, sweat, and tears, right? But the reality is it's still an investment that you're making. It's an investment that's part of something, and you don't want it to ruin your life. And the thing is that now, like I said, free forms, single member, simple LLCs, they exist. There's really no excuses. It's almost impossible to mess it up. Let me know if you need any more information, and I will point you in the right direction. Legal essential number 2, though, hinges on legal essential number 1. If you create this legal entity to separate, to limit your liability and protect yourself, you have to treat it like it is something. You have to treat it like it's something that's separate. You can't just create an LLC and make sure that your bank account, your personal bank account, is one and the same with your LLC bank account, and you pay your rent and you pay Forge and you pay whoever else you pay all through the same account. Well, you haven't separated your assets. And this becomes very important. There's nothing wrong with paying yourself, right? At some point, as a business owner, the goal is to make money, right? That's why we did it. We didn't do it just because we enjoy people. I mean, sometimes we do, right? But if you aren't paying yourself, then you're going to have to leave, right? Like, it won't keep working. But your legal entity, it needs its own bank account. It needs its own EIN. It needs its separate bookkeeping. it's totally fine to pay yourself, but you have to make sure and document it. You treat the business as something separate from yourself. So I often use this as an example. When you have a business, you create a business. It's like having a kid, right? You create this thing that's completely helpless, that can't operate or exist without you, without all of your money. You pour all of your money into it, give them absolutely everything you can. You hope that at some point it grows to be something that will maybe take care of you in retirement, right? Right? I have 5 kids and 1 business. This is my solution. Something's taking care of me. But the idea is that it's supposed to grow to be something completely separate from yourself, though, right? Like when we have kids, we raise kids. Hopefully one day they become fully functioning adults, right? That's what we hope for. When we have a business and we're growing a business, hopefully one day it's fully functioning, even maybe without us, right? Which is scary to think of, right? As you build something, this is part of it. But if we're really, truly trying to build something, can we actually do that? You can use your home office. You can use the computer you had before you started your business. Just make sure that your business isn't the same as you are. You're growing something that's separate from yourself. It needs to be treated accordingly. So a good rule of thumb is you want to document how your money moves between yourself and your business. Right? You want to pay attention to how you pay yourself. You want to pay attention to what you had before you started your business that you are in fact using in your business. You want to pay attention to what you spend on the business versus what you spend on yourself, and how you use your home and your other things you own in your business. And a simple rule of thumb is buy things. You can totally buy things for your business with your personal money, right? So you're out at the grocery store and you need something for the office and you pick it up. That's fine. Reimburse yourself, just like if you work for somebody else, right? But don't do the opposite. Don't pay your mortgage from the business account. You got some issues, right? Don't buy things for yourself with your business money. It's one of the simplest ways to create that separation. Pay yourself and then pay your mortgage. That's fine. Just, pay attention. It becomes important. That's how the limited liability works, because you can set the limited liability entity up, but if you don't handle it right, we lawyers will completely destroy it, right? Piercing the corporate veil. Anybody heard? It's not fun. Okay, number 3, documenting relationships. This is what we transactional lawyers do, right? We document your relationships. And of course I'm a lawyer, I have to say this, but you should have a written contract for every relationship that you have in your business, right? Otherwise, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't have a roadmap to protect your business. You don't have a roadmap for that relationship. Documenting your relationships is about more than simply saying what you plan to do and how much they're going to pay you, right? I see that all the time. Emails back and forth. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to pay you X. That's great. What happens if it took you 9 weeks to do X, Y, Z and they paid you X in 5 payments, right? We didn't deal with that. What are we arguing over? 2 emails that are back and forth? A contract. And at the beginning of the relationship, it's great because everybody wants to make money, right? Everybody's like, we're going to do this and it's going to be awesome. And we're going to, I'm going to do this and you're going to pay me this and we're all going to make lots of money. And that's the time to do it, because what the contract deals with is the what ifs, about the possibilities, about the contingencies. What happens when it goes wrong? And that's what we think about. That's what we lawyers are here for, right? But the key is to properly document those relationships. And to properly document your relationship comes with an understanding of what's absolutely important in the relationship. But understand that if relationships are the foundation of how legal impacts your business, or relationships are the foundation of how your business runs, right? We don't have a business without relationships with people, without our clients, with our customers, without our vendors, right? We don't have that relationship. But if relationships legally are nothing more than contracts, right? Because we've agreed to do a thing, then contracts become the foundation of your business, right? And the foundation of how legal actually impacts your business. And so, though there are a lot of legal needs in your business, in my view, there are 3 primary types of legal protection in your business. This is what we call the 3 pillars of a firm foundation, which I believe is going to be the February talk. I'll confirm that. But the 3 pillars of your firm foundation, we're going to expand on this. But when we look at that, there's 3 primary types of relationships that we look at in a business. The first is the foundational relationships. Those relationships are how you and the owners relate to the business itself. That's the limited liability. How do you pay your taxes? How are you paid by the business? How are the partners related to one another? Those are foundational concepts that if you don't understand those, your business is going to have a really hard time getting off the ground because you're fighting, right? The second is internal relationships. That's your independent contractors that are working with you, your employees, the relationships that you use to make your business run, right? Even if some of those independent contractors are vendors, right? So some examples of internal relationships that people don't always think about, your lawyers, your accountants, your graphic designers, your marketing people, those people become extremely important. And this is where documenting relationships gets very interesting, especially in the startup world. So copyright is a whole nother topic in and of itself, but in this particular place in the startup world, people often miss this. So if you're working with somebody to create something, whether it's software code or a logo or a design or a tagline or white papers or something like that, from a copyright standpoint, if you've hired them as an independent contractor and you do not have a contract that's in writing with those people, they own everything they created. And one day, that can come back to bite you if they ever realize that they own that and they have to deal with it. So the simple solution is document these relationships, right? We just want to make sure it's clear when you make my logo that I own my logo when you're done with it, right? We can deal with how that provision flows, but if you're doing it for me, I can own it, right? And we want to make sure that we understand what that is. When hopefully, if Kim lets me keep coming back and we talk about copyright, we'll really break down what Facebook and Instagram Live looks like on their devices with me creating the content and who owns what intellectual property in that. It'll make your head spin. It's super fun. It's what keeps me up at night. But the goal is to think through your relationships to understand what's going on. So we're going to go briefly through this so that you can kind of understand what some of these particular relationships are in your business. So if we look at your foundational relationships, right, we're looking at partners, investors, lenders, right? Somebody's giving you money. Okay, let's pause for a second because this happens a lot in businesses and it's really important. Your grandmother may love you and think that you're amazing, and she may want to give you money to start your business and say, pay me back whenever you want to. Okay. If you're going to see her over the holidays, or not, it doesn't really matter. But if you're ever going to see your grandmother again, make sure it's in writing, for your sake, for her sake, for the sake of the rest of the family at Thanksgiving dinner. And here's the reason why. So if somebody loans you money and they say, here's $20,000, go make your dreams come true, right? And just pay me back whenever you can. And, they give you the money in January, and we get to November, and we sit down at Thanksgiving, and we're at the Thanksgiving table, and your grandmother looks over and goes, how's your business going? And you haven't paid her a penny, right? That question is pretty fully loaded, isn't it, right? How's that coming when do we get my money back, right? So let's think about the difference is, if your grandmother loans you $20,000 in January, and we put it in writing. Do you have a question?
I was going to say, what if your grandmother dies and your aunt's looking at you now?
Yeah, that gets even worse. So he's taking wills this afternoon, so he'll answer the question. That gets really nasty, and this is why we put it in writing, is what happens? Now you owe the estate, and you're an heir to the estate, but everybody else comes ahead of you, right? This is why we put things in writing. But for the sake of simplicity, we'll just assume she's still alive at Thanksgiving. And so instead we put it in writing and we say, you're going to loan me this money and I'm going to take 6 months of a run rate on this money to get my business started. I'm going to start making interest payments in month 7, right? So $20,000, you're making interest payments. It's, the smallest amount the accountant makes you pay. So you're making these interest payments, right? So you start making interest payments in month 7, which would be, August, right? So you make your payments in August. You make them in September, you make them in October, you make them in November, right? You sit down at the table and your grandmother says, how's your business going? That question is completely different, right? She's invested, she's a part of it, but you're doing what you're supposed to. And your family life is wonderful. And you've limited your liability because, well, maybe, okay. That's a different lunch and learn. You're behind the camera. But so it's important when we're taking money, even from family and friends, that these things are documented because these relationships are super important. Because contracts protect relationships, right? Contracts make sure that they keep going. We're looking at, the company that you have, the tax election that you have, single member LLCs. I'm sure you guys have heard, S elections and C corporations and all of these kinds of things that go into it. These are early stage decisions. Your city and your county business licenses, right? if you guys are located here, well, Birmingham, Jefferson County are fun. So we've got to think about all of those, though. And then the next is we look at these internal relationships, right? These are the things that we kind of talked about. Virtual assistants, especially for you guys, maybe something you really play with, but these people, they're creating intellectual property for you. And you have to be careful. There's a lot of really interesting companies that, work out of the Philippines and stuff, right? But we got to make sure that the contracts are right because you're under the United States copyright laws. So let's make sure that they look right. Your graphic designers, your accountants, your lawyers, your suppliers, make sure these agreements are in writing and that you understand what they are. And don't be afraid to negotiate the terms, right, with those agreements. So then we get to external relationships, which is basically everything else. But one of the things that I like to make sure everybody thinks about, and this is what we go through when we work with clients in the early stage of their business, is we need to think about every aspect of your sales funnel is an external relationship, right? So we go from people watching your Facebook live feed to people following you on Instagram to people coming to a free day, right? To people experiencing some part of you, to people giving you an email address, to people paying you to, rent out your conference room, to people becoming a monthly member, right? Right? And every step in between, those are different relationships. And how do they look? Every stage of them has a different aspect of different types of relationships, and think about what it is as we break those down. And like I said, we're going to go deeper into that in the next talk. And then once we do that, we're going to have you protect your business, right? And we're going to have the 3 pillars of your firm foundation. And when we get into it the next time, we're going to try and do some exercises and help you hopefully walk away with that information for your business personally. So legal essential number 4, obviously I'm a lawyer. I do lunch and learns. I have a blog. I want you to have this access, but it's because I believe in it, because I believe that it matters, because it's important. But you need access to good quality legal information, not the guy you see at the cocktail party, not the guy who's at Iron Tribe next to you slinging weights, not those people necessarily, though they may be great outside of the gym, right? Right? When you're doing EMOMs, you don't need to be asking questions about your about your legal issues. But you want to make sure that you have access to that legal information, whether it's just to understand it, or to ask those questions, or to figure out what's going on. Business lawyers, we're not always easy to find necessarily. Lawyers who really understand small business issues. The issue is they don't teach you small business law in law school, right? Right? So these guys just took BizWork, which is the basic business class in law school. And they tell me they spent 20 minutes on the LLC and it wasn't even on their exam. Don't tag Cumberland. I'm making fun of them. And so it wasn't there, right? They don't teach this stuff in law school, right? These guys, though, that's what they deal with every single day, right? Working for us. Because that's what really happens. That's what affects you guys. Those are the things that happen, and they don't teach that. They teach contract drafting in law schools, but it's in this world of 95-page contracts with a K-1 and a publicly traded company, right? And we can give you guys that, but everybody's head's going to spin, and it's not going to do you any good because it's talking about stuff that doesn't even matter. And so understanding the small business world is something that's completely different, and finding someone who understands that. There's a few of us running around Birmingham, right, who understands what's going on, who you trust, who you feel you can ask those questions and get that is absolutely essential to your business, right? You can't fool yourself into thinking you don't need legal in your business because it matters. And you can't fool yourself into thinking developing a relationship isn't important for your business, right? One thing you don't get from lawyers is a lot of hand-holding, at least not without a price tag necessarily, right? And if you want to understand the legal that impacts your business and how you can use it to help your business grow, I'm going to try and help you get started. I want to be your guide, I want to be your mentor, and I want to be your teacher, right? I want to help you take your business to the next level by using legal to build a firm foundation, right? So to work with a lawyer, you really need three things that kind of help you out with a lawyer. The first is foundation. The lawyer needs to help you make sure that your business is set up properly. The second you need is support. You need someone who's going to answer questions, who understands the things that you face because they've been there themselves or because they have seen it so many more times than you have, right? And so you need to understand you need someone who understands with those things, who supports you along the way, because we have seen a lot more business deals than you have. Do you need a slip on by?
Yeah, no big deal.
You just walk right in front of me. You should. I should be interrupted at all times. So you need a lawyer because we lawyers have seen a lot more business deals than you have, right? We've seen different industries that do similar things, and we've seen how it can go right, and we've seen how it can go wrong, and we understand what those things are, right? Many businesses are in this place with their lawyer for a long time, in this support kind of place, supporting and maintaining the foundation you work together to create, right? But then the last is to grow, to have a lawyer who can help you grow and position you for growth when you need it, who understands what it takes to take that next step to build your business, who's been there. These are the things that you need to be looking for when you're talking to a lawyer, when you're reaching out to them. And I encourage you in the early stages to find someone that you can trust. You know, even if it's just having a cup of coffee and having a chat or figuring out what's going on, you need to find, you know, how to get those answers, or showing up to a lunch and learn once a month and asking you questions, right? Like, find that information that you can have. So, like I said early on, you can find me at these places. My goal is for you to leave today knowing what comes next in your business, and at least with an idea of how to think through it, right? And next when I come back February the 28th, unless I was fired, so we're renegotiating, so we'll see what happens. But we're going to actually work through these 3 pillars of your firm foundation and go through this exercise in hopes of you walking away kind of knowing what those relationships are in your business and what it looks like. And so we've taken a completely different approach, and I will mention this, and I want to get to questions. I'll answer any more, but I do want to tell you guys, we've taken a completely different approach to how we work with startups and entrepreneurs. We have built our firm around small businesses and startups. That's our focus. We've created programs and models to help you protect your business as it grows. We have, like I said, an education first philosophy of how we approach it, but the other thing that we have is that we believe that you shouldn't get a surprise bill from your lawyer. You should know ahead of time what it's going to cost, and we believe in flat fee pricing. And to take that even another step further, we have membership models where that access to the legal becomes a part of it, because the membership model is however many phone calls or emails that you need with your annual meeting and discounts on all your legal stuff. And I'll be glad to answer any questions about that, but today's about you guys, not about me. So, this is my contact information, and I brought cards. I think they're in my bag that we put in, so I'll lay them out that we need. Tell you guys a couple of things. Our name will be changing very soon, so hopefully when we come back, we will have a new name with some exciting new branding. And we're working on that. But now I've got time to answer any questions that you guys may have. Unless I either overwhelmed you or terrified you.
2 quick questions. I don't know about the answers, but so legalese is just long and complicated. You talked about these long documents with language that you can't read. The last issue of Harvard Business Review talked about a rather large company that just simplified the language. You know, so you know, your thoughts on that, simplifying language so it's understandable and people are comfortable with it. And the other is on series LLCs in Alabama.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
What the status is as far as common adoption, and what the so in Florida they're being used, I'm told, but not so much here.
Okay, so I'll take them.
Segregate.
Yeah, I'll take the questions one at a time. The first is, what are my opinions about legalese and simplifying legalese to make readable documents? The name of my podcast is Legal to English, and the reason it's named that is because I believe in translating legal to English. I'm also very literal. And oddly enough, my biggest following in my podcast in the early stages, this is completely off topic, but is in the Middle East, where they have a lot of outsourced people who work with big law firms who are trying to figure out how to understand legal in English. Lots of really interesting long emails from Chinese attorneys, but it's a lot of fun. Some really cool phone calls late at night. But so I believe that, and this is part of the small business part of what I was talking about. Legalese is one of those things that has been adopted over time. We know, we are in a we're in a common law country, and so what the courts have said works, right? And we know that. And so in court cases and things like that, the courts are like, we know these these paragraphs work, right? And we've got case law that says that. And there's some arguments about what happens there, but the reality is that legalese exists the way it is because it obfuscates the simplicity sometimes of the deal, in my opinion. And so if we make it sound complicated, it justifies our fees because you need us to translate it for you. I believe that you must understand your deal, and it should be written in such a way that not only you understand it, but the other side understands it, and that short circuits the issues that happen on the back end. Because if we understand the deal on day one, and if you pick up the contract and you read it and you go, oh, I am wrong, we did agree to that thing, because you know what it means, then we fixed a lot of problems that come from arguing over overly complicated documents. Those documents are written to be in a courtroom. And we write documents that are written to be solved in a boardroom. And that's our goal. And so I do believe that they should be simplified and made easy, and that's how we write. In fact, I had the Legal to English Dictionary. Was one of the things that I had a lot of fun with when I started the blog, which was how to translate a lot of the words that we use in contracts, hereto, wherefore, here and above, which is nothing more than an amalgamation of multiple words that mean absolutely nothing. Or all that actually mean the same thing. But number two, because this is actually an interesting one, is the Series LLC and the adoption of the Series LLC in the state of Alabama. It was passed in 2016. They are allowed. And we have started using them a lot. In 2017, we started using them an awful lot. They have a very specific use case. And to be honest, if there is interest and you hear any of it, I would love to just talk about that. There's a lot, and in that case, Drew might come and tag team with me. The Series LLC is designed for a couple of things. It's serial entrepreneurs and serial investors. Because what the Series LLC is traditionally we actually had a system when we created a company that was going to invest in multiple companies or create multiple things. And underneath that one company, we would create a lot of single-member LLCs underneath it. That got really complicated. It was really popular with investors who were investing in companies. So you take a bunch of money, you would create this fund, and then underneath it, you would take some of your money and put it in LLC 1, some of your money in LLC 2, and then those would invest in another one. Well, the creation of the Series LLC simplified that. We now need one company that we're able to separate into multiple series, and we get limited liability in each one of the series as long as we follow the rules. Which means that we don't have to have multiple FEINs. You don't have multiple filing fees every time you want to open it. It simplifies the ease of opening up a new thing every time you want to do it. And so we use it a lot for real estate investors, people who are buying property and then they're leasing out their property. There's no need necessarily for multiple companies, but having the limited liability separation is very important. And so we do that because it simplifies it. So they go find one, we're able to spin out the series really quickly for them, and we're actually able to develop like a template way of creating that for you. And so we're seeing more and more adoption, and I see a lot of exciting ways that it could exist in, say, the tech world, where we're creating products and testing products and things like that, and in other kind of iterations in the startup world. I think it could be very big, and I'm very excited about what we can possibly do with it from a legal standpoint. Is that, you look like you had a follow-up question.
Yeah, no, it's that containment of the liability to that one investment, like in a rental property. If somebody falls and sues you, not all of your rental property.
Precisely.
That's not in the rental property.
Right. That's the idea of the Series LLC.
I mean, that is the
exactly.
containment of that liability
yes.
between the components of this larger.
Right. So the Series LLC divides up the assets. And so it's as if you have a separate company for every single series that you create underneath the main one. In the same way, we used to create a company and then have subsidiaries. And now we're able to do it in a series. It just simplifies your dealings as the owner of the company. But every single series is the limited liability, and depending on what you're trying to do, you can have separate owners in a series. So you can own the primary company and then take investors or different things down in the series underneath. That almost does become a need for the whiteboard, but we'll leave that for now. But series LLCs are very, very exciting, and there's a lot of cool things that can be done. And I, for one, was extremely excited that they opened it up in Alabama. Do what?
It's amazing what excites a lawyer.
I get excited about what it can do for entrepreneurs. Ultimately, I'm an entrepreneur who happens to practice law. So I do get excited about those nerdy things, but in the same way Mark Zuckerberg got excited about code. Anyway.
So what you were just talking about, is that pretty much like, I guess, a different variation of having a parent company and doing business as below
Yes. Now, doing business as is a different thing. Do you have? Here we go. I gotta do it. Good. I was gonna try and bring it in the frame. So, we're gonna call this LLC, right? We'll call it parent. So traditionally, the way that we would do it is we would have this company. You would start it. So say you and I go into business together, right? We create this company. The company is designed for nothing more than us to take our money and invest it in certain companies, right? So you and I go in together and we invest $4 signs, okay? And so we go over here and we create LLC 1, okay? And we take this dollar sign and we move it here. Okay, so we've still got the money here, and we've created this, and this money's invested over here. This is wobbly,
Yes.
So we're investing the money. There's limited liability protection that exists here, and we have another idea that pops up, and we're able to take it, and so we create LLC 2, and we take this money and we put it here. So now we still have some level of money that exists here, but we're not doing anything because it's nothing more than an investment company, and we're waiting for the next investment to come along, and we're creating these. Now, from a legal standpoint, what we look at is when we create this, we have to file it. We have to file with the probate court. It goes to the Secretary of State. We have, filing fees here. We have filing fees here. We have to go to the IRS to get your EIN. There's a tax return associated with this for this company. We create this. We have to file with probate. We have to file with the Secretary of State. We have to get a new EIN with the IRS. And there's a tax return. And then we have to do it again over here, right? And so that's what happens. So then, now that we've got the Series LLC, we're able to create parent company number 1 and do almost exactly the same thing, but this becomes Series 1 and Series 2. So you know what happened? This only happens here now. And so now we're able to create this with an internal document that we put together that you sign that's really simple, and we put it together. Now the really interesting thing, and the thing that everybody was scared of when it first came into adoption, is they were afraid that you couldn't bring in an investor. And so one of the reasons for this, the old setup, was that we were able to take an investor and allow him to invest in 1 and maybe 3, but not 2, right? And definitely not the big one. So we gave him pieces of the pie, but not the whole pie. Well, the beauty of the series is we can still do this. So now the difference is, so we've only got this happening once up here, right? Every other one of these are considered to be a part of this, unless you do this, right? Then you probably want to go ahead and get an EIN because it's going to be operating completely separately. You're not required to, but you can. Then you also have a tax return that's created here, but only because you've added another partner, because he has to get it, and so does the main one. So, but this one, because it's just owned by you guys, nothing's different. So you've simplified the structure, and it only matters in each individual one. So everything's exactly the same as it used to be. It just simplifies it for you, the business owner. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Okay.
We have a question.
Yes.
So she wants to create a new division of her company rather than change the name of her company. Can I operate it as a DBA, or does it need to be if it's just a new division? Donna, am I asking that right? If it's just a new division, does it need to be like a separate one of those?
Okay. Are we in Alabama?
Yes.
Okay. And the new division, is it so?
She said I asked it right.
Okay, good. So creating a new division, in the event we have a series, and any LLC we can turn into a series really easily now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But in the event it is a series, we can potentially create this separate series from it. Now the issue in creating a division or the question you have to ask is, are you creating a separate set of liabilities that you didn't already have in your first one? If it's just kind of a spin-off, you're doing basically exactly what you're doing.
You just said rebranding. So
Rebranding, okay. In that case, in Alabama, we don't have to register a DBA. We are able to use we're able to just use the name change as a trade name and protect yourself. If the only reason to create one of these is a separate set of liabilities. And the important thing is the money is all separate too. So this is basically its own business. So if the division is going to operate as a part of the primary company and it's going to be used in your normal course of operations and you're using the same income streams to do that, then you want to leave it at the top level as you're operating in the early stages. The only reason to create these separate ones if it's a completely different spinoff and you're willing to invest in it.
Okay. She said, I'm an S Corp but want to rebrand under a different name. So I think you spoke to
yeah, and S Corps we can't do this with an S Corp anyway, so yeah, we're probably going to leave it at the primary one, but you can rebrand under the different name without a separate filing. I will say the only reason I would recommend a filing is that it does give you some level of notice. If you do go through the name reservation in the state of Alabama and you do actually change your name, then you have notice on the Secretary of State's database that name is being used and no one else can use it. So for instance, if Forge, the name of the legal entity Forge was Kim Does Awesome Stuff, LLC, right? And she was operating as Forge, somebody can still come in and create Forge LLC, right? Which is actually the new name of our law firm. We just haven't announced Forge because we checked this. But so somebody's able to actually come in and use that, and then Kim has to deal with the intellectual property issues of, well, she had it first, but they were able to get it. And so that would be the only reason for actually going through that name, is it does preempt that. But there's filing fees associated with it. It'll cost you a couple $100 just to file all those things because the state and the county and the Fed, they all like their money. So, but you don't have to. That's the key.
Great. She said fabulous.
Those are my favorite
She's
responses.
registered the name.
Good.
And now she wants to operate under that name.
There you go.
Great.
Anybody else?
All right.
Well, thank you guys very much. I'll learn how to draw better before next